Hello again, guys. I am back with another earbud. This earbud is called the AeroFit 2 Pro. This is a long-awaited earbud that I've been waiting for. This video, I'm going to be pretty much going through with it. First, I'm going to unbox it, and then I'm going to give my own 2 cents about the overall experience of the earbud. So, shall we begin? And I pretty much finished listening to these guys, and I would just say that the sound is okay. I wasn't really impressed by it. The design of the earbuds for themselves are pretty unique. It is an interesting combination between a semi-in-ear and a hook-style earbud, like combined together. Pretty much like adjusting the thinner or the hook, I should say, does change the noise cancellation. The noise cancellation isn't as impressive as I thought it would be. Since this is kind of a semi-in-ear to design, I would have expected to be somewhat in the same level as the AirPod 4's ANC, but not really, actually. The ANC is okay, or it is somewhat noticeable, but not as noticeable as the Shocks or the AirPod 4's ANC. So I just don't really understand the thinking here. I would have actually preferred these were a different type of earbuds instead of some kind of continuation of the AeroFit series. Sound-wise, I was not impressed. I felt that the bass wasn't as strong as the AeroFit 2's. The Pro's sound is okay, seems to be more leaning on the flat side of things, but the bass is not as impressive as the AeroFit's. And that is kind of a deal breaker for anybody who's looking for an open style earbud with a lot of bass. I did find that the sound signature was pretty interesting when switching from movie mode or spatial audio, but I wouldn't say it was something that would make me want to drop the Shocks in favor for this. Now, I am comparing the AeroFit 2 Pros to the Shocks OpenFit Pros because of the fact that they are kind of in the same tier. And since these earbuds are pretty much just released pretty much at the same time, I would like to compare these because of the fact that they are designed for just being aware, situationally aware. And what I would say is that I think that due to the price, it is justified for the quality it does provide. But I do feel like they are overcompensating for a lot of things just to compete with the Shocks OpenFit Pro. This design seems to be an overly compromised type of way to pretty much cover a lot of ground to such a large demand for newer competition such as the OpenFit Pros. The noise cancellation or the noise reduction isn't as impressive as the Shocks, and I don't really like this hook style type of thing with the adjustment. I think it would have much been preferable if they just retained the Shocks AeroFit 2's design. I would have liked that a bit more because how this is advertised is just more like of a newer breakthrough in just design, which I don't really feel like it is. I feel like it's more of a overcompensating design to cover as much ground as possible to compete with the Shocks open fit run. And that is good if you're looking for something new and unique. I feel like this is more of a competition with the the AirPods 4A and C, but it is in its own category, not really with this. It feels like this is just something that has a bunch of ideas coming together, but might not hold up well over time. This is more of an impression of the earbuds. I'm not saying that these are my final thoughts. This is not like a final verdict, but more of a first impressions on what I think currently with the buds and trying them out so far. I would start experimenting more with these buds, but for so far, I wouldn't say that I am impressed, more as so as I'm still wondering what the direction of this design is going towards. Yes, these seem to be great for gym or people that want to go to the gym and work out. This hook design reminds me so much of the Power Beats Pros. Minus, a lot of the silicon tip or even the heart rate sensors. So if that's the case, then I think this would be a great alternative to those buds, but not so much for the Shocks Open Fit Pros. I think the Shocks Open Fit Pros are a much more refined and actually worth upgrade over its predecessors, and I would say even outcompetes the Aerofit 2 Pros in terms of just comfort, sound quality, and noise reduction, something that these two bots are obviously battling for. Now, the shocks are more expensive than the Aerofit 2 Pros, so that is another thing to consider. That's another variable to consider when deciding between these two buds. But when it comes to just what I would choose in the end of the day and what I'm willing to pay for, am I willing to pay for the full price of a $250 bud or a much more cheaper alternative? And I would just say that these are worth the price. Well, these are actually much cheaper, coming at $140, depending on the discounts you get, because I think in full price, I think these are $170. So pretty much in the same range as the AirPod 4A and Cs, which is an interesting discussion when trying to compare other than the Shocks Open Fit Pros. These ones do seem to be somewhat of a weird position of competition, either between the Aero, the AirPod 4A and Cs, and the Shocks not Open Run, the Shocks Open Fit Pros, which could mean that it's overly, compensating for a lot of things that might not work over time. Fit and comfort doesn't seem to be an issue, but I do wonder how it's going to be over time. Would I just like the convenience of just, pressing the button and activating that active noise cancellation or that noise reduction? That clicking noise might be quite irritating over time. Think that the design overall is overly compensating for a number of things that could be much more easily solved if they just kept, the original design and tried to improve it from there with the Aerofit 2s. So I would just say that these guys so far aren't as bad as I thought they would. I was kind of expecting for them to have like some kind of silicon tip or something that pretty much helps channel a lot of that sound directly to the ear. But I guess they were going with a much more unique approach, or a hybrid of sorts. I'm not sure how it's going to be, but so far I would just say that my overall verdict, if I was going to choose just based on, just this couple of times of listening to music through these two buds, will still go towards the Shocks, as the Shocks do produce a much stronger bass and a much more dynamic sound signature over the Aerofit 2 Pros. So yeah, that's pretty much my impression so far. I will continue to test these to see how they fit, but yeah, that's pretty much right now my thoughts at the given moment. Hey, have a nice night.